Um, where do I start? I'm torn between just sitting here in this sort of woeful shock and just laughing my ass off. I don't know. All right, let's dig into this, guys. The USMNT roster, 8 months away from the World Cup, has been released for September camp for friendlies against Japan and South Korea. And I made a roster yesterday, predicting what the roster would be, and it was pretty bad. And yet somehow I never imagined it could be this bad. I have so many, when you have so many things to say, you don't know where to start and you get like analysis paralysis. This may be one of the worst rosters we've ever seen because this is supposed to be the A team, right? I didn't watch the Pochettino press conference, mostly because he says nothing of interest, a lot of platitudes. But apparently, according to Brian Sciaretta, he said that we watched 60, 65 players that we are keeping track of and they have to perform. The hypocrisy out of this Argentine's mouth. Nathan Harriel is performing somehow over Joe Scally. But Nathan Harriel, who looked so bad in the opening game of the Gold Cup, which was played against CONCACAF minnows, okay, looked so bad he didn't play a single minute ever again in the Gold Cup. And yet somehow he's back. But a Bundesliga starter, no room for you, said Poch. The starter for Atletico Madrid, Johnny Cardoso, also gone. Not here. Poch went and watched him. He went and watched him play for Atletico. And somehow decided that we needed Sean Zawadzki instead. Guys, I don't know what to believe, but it seems the preponderance of the evidence, and I'll say this again, I said it on Tax Channel, the preponderance of this evidence is that this is largely a MLS, that Poch is an MLS show, and this is largely an MLS roster for that reason. We're going to dig into it. There are one or two positives, namely the inclusion of Noah Kai Banks. But the rest of it is just stunningly, stunningly bad. Before we get into the roster, guys, though, I do want to say thank you to everybody who subbed to the new channel, who left very kind and encouraging comments. It has been a rough go with my main channel, 11 Yanks, getting hacked. So we're doing this here for now, and I appreciate you guys liking, and some of you told me you watched the video multiple times to help get those hours up. We already reached over 1,000 subs as of this recording, so that's exciting. I think we need 4,000 watch hours to get monetized. My goal is to try to get monetized before camp. Because I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot to say in camp. So thank you. If you could with this video as well, watch the whole thing. If you can, watch it more than once. That would help a lot. I really appreciate all the love, you guys. This community is really the only thing that keeps me going, you guys, because it's definitely not our federation. It's definitely not our weak-ass soft players. And it's definitely not our money-grubbing parasite of a coach, Mauricio Pochettino. So let's dive into this roster here. We begin with the goalkeepers, Jonathan Klinsmann, Matt Friis, and Roman Celentano. So this is interesting. I wouldn't say the goalkeepers is really the problem with this roster. Matt Friis clearly deserves to be there and will probably start both games. Jonathan Klinsmann has supposedly, and I say supposedly because I haven't watched him play, been playing quite well in the Italian second division, son of Jurgen Klinsmann. Some of you may remember him from his famous tweet when Landon was left off the 2014 roster. And then you have Roman Celentano. Sure. I mean, these MLS goalkeepers for me are all kind of at the same level. I don't really care. This is interesting that there's no Matt Turner, though, because Matt Turner finally came back to MLS and has started to play regularly for New England, and yet somehow he's not here either. So that's an interesting one. I wouldn't say it's a diabolical goalkeeping pool. I would say our goalkeeping pool is diabolical, and this is sort of, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So these are our goalkeeping core. I think Matt Friis will probably start both games, and this is at the very least a message to Matt Turner that he's going to have to play really well to earn his way back into the roster. We could have, if you're going to call him in, I probably would have preferred Chris Brady, but again, I think the separation between guys like Brady, Celentano, Schulte, Stefan, I don't think there's that much separation. Klinsmann's kind of an interesting pick. But other than that, I don't really see much here that either makes me excited or outraged. But that's just sort of a byproduct of our goalkeeping pool. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens in camp. Fullbacks. Okay, so Serginho Dest, Max Arfsten, Alex Freeman, and Nathan Harriel. And I love this profile picture of Nathan Harriel because it's like even he looks kind of confused that he's on the roster. This doesn't make any sense. Nathan Harriel over Joe Scally? There's no Anthony Robinson because he just came back from injury, right? So maybe they figured, okay, we don't want to, bring him into camp this early after he came back from injury, and that is fair. So Max Arfsten's the only left back, although Des can play left back too. They have Max Arfsten listed as a defender. A man who couldn't even defend against CONCACAF minnows is somehow supposed to defend against Japan and South Korea. Alex Freeman is there, which if you're not going to bring Joe Scally, I guess it makes sense. He's probably the third choice right back in my mind. And obviously it's good to have Dest back. But as some people will point out, look at the positives in the roster. Pulisic's there, Weah's there, Sargent is back, Dest is there, Chris Richards is there. Those are not positives. Those are givens. Those are givens. If the entire fan base can pick that player for your roster, then it's not a positive. It's fucking obvious. Okay, you don't get credit for calling up Serginho Dest. It's absurd. So those are not positives. Those are duh picks. These other picks are so far beyond justifiable. Max Arfsten, not justifiable. Okay? Terrible, terrible player. Nathan Harriel, even worse somehow. At least Arfsten against CONCACAF minnows can occasionally do something on the ball. Nathan Harriel got clowned the other day by a junior in high school, Kevin Sullivan, in training. Like completely destroyed, like took his soul. Was terrible in the Gold Cup. Still keeps getting call-ups. That's what makes Pochettino's comments so absurd when he's like, it's our job to pick the players who are performing the best. Well, you're a fucking hypocrite then, because Nathan Harriel has never performed at the best of anything his entire life. What are you saying? At the very least, Joe Scally should be here over Nathan Harriel. Caleb Wiley over Max Arfsten. Heck, Christopher Lund over Max Arfsten. And I'm no Lund fan. But Arfsten had his chance in Gold Cup and was awful. But Nathan Harriel is by far the worst of the bunch. I mean, there's like no justifiable excuse. There are MLS, even if you want to call up an MLS right back. Let's say for whatever reason you don't think Joe Scally should come. You could get Brooks Lennon, who's better than Nathan Harriel. Shaq Moore is probably better than Nathan Harriel, right? Heck, bring Aidan Harangi from San Diego FC. He's probably better than Nathan Harriel. It just doesn't make any sense. Reed Baker-Whitting in Seattle is better than Harriel. Hayden Miller from the New England Revolution, also better than Harriel. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But let's continue. Center backs, Noah Banks, Chris Richards, Tim Ream, and Tristan Blackmon. So we knew Tristan Blackmon was going to be on this roster. So no surprise there. And Noah Banks is there, which is the one positive, right? Does he deserve to be there? Maybe, maybe not. I personally would rather look at quality youth players, even if they aren't starters in the Bundesliga yet. But to be honest, guys, if Noah Banks was in MLS, he would be a starter. So the whole he hasn't played any yet. He actually has played some games in the Bundesliga last season, and he looked pretty decent. Left-footed center back, high ceiling, good upside. I'm glad to see him here. That is one of the few credits Pochettino will get from me. Richards and Reams. Ream is, I guess, there. We don't have a great center back core at the moment. But Tristan Blackmon, guy, let's be honest. What is he doing here? There's no reason to call up Tristan Blackmon. It's a Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman pick. This is an MLS lifer who's mediocre MLS defender and always has been. Okay? And Vancouver Whitecaps fans, please go back to praising the glory that is Jesse Marsh. We don't need your opinion about Tristan Blackmon. Okay? We know what we're seeing with this guy. Mark McKenzie, who has had a very good start to the season, 2 clean sheets for Toulouse, and by the way, was involved in 2 goals this last weekend for Toulouse, not against Toulouse, somehow doesn't make it, but we need to call up another MLS lifer in Tristan Blackmon. Make it make sense. It just doesn't. At this point, give CCV and Trusty a chance, although Trusty's still injured, so maybe give CCV a chance. I don't know. But Mark McKenzie, at the very least, should be here over Tristan Blackmon. Okay. What you'll notice is with this entire roster is if you have this, a starting lineup is not awful. If you have a decent starting lineup, minus Max Arfsten at left back, because that's the only left back you brought, right? But if you have a starting lineup, let's go through the roster and then I'll talk about the starting lineup. Now, far and away, the most atrocious group or position in this roster is midfield. Diego Luna, Sean Zawadzki, Luca de la Torre, Jack McGlynn, Tyler Adams, and Sebastian Berhalter. So basically the Gold Cup group, right, of midfielders, except instead of Paxton Aronson, you brought Sean Zawadzki. Interesting that Aronson came back to MLS and doesn't get a call-up. So here we go. The same guys who got destroyed by Switzerland, who got beaten by Turkey, who's not a good team, beaten by Mexico, who might be one of the worst Mexicos in history, and frankly didn't look very good against most of the minnows, mostly squeaked out wins against the minnows, all gets to come back. Who's going to create chances? Because Josh Sargent finally gets to return. And who's going to create for him in this midfield? Tyler Adams, defensive midfielder. Diego Luna, really more of a winger, but even if he plays midfield, he hasn't really shown that he can do it against good teams, right? Against minnows, sure. But even he didn't look great against Mexico. He didn't look great against Turkey or Switzerland. I mean, I'm not saying he shouldn't be here. I would still call him in the roster. But Luca de la Torre, Sebastian Berhalter, Sean Zawadzki, and Jack McGlynn, they don't make any sense. They look like mediocre players in the Gold Cup, you guys. The Gold Cup. And yet they're still getting call-ups. And we're going to be playing tougher teams. Sean Zawadzki is a decent 6 in MLS, as Columbus fans will tell you. But to call him up over Johnny Cardoso, who's starting for Atletico Madrid, one of the best teams in the world, like that's a top 10 team in the world, easily. And somehow we're like, no. Well, Pete, Johnny Cardoso hasn't played well for the national team. That is fair. For a long time, Malik Tillman didn't play well for the national team. And yet we gave him a run of games at Gold Cup, and look what he became. And yet we decided Johnny Cardoso was not good enough to play for the national team because we wanted to get a look at Sean Zawadzki. I don't understand, guys. I don't understand. Well, Pete, who else would you call up? So Malik Tillman is still injured, so it's fair that he's not here. Honestly, I would call up Gio Reyna over any of Sean Zawadzki, Luca de la Torre, Sebastian Berhalter, or Jack McGlynn. I would probably call up Paxton Aronson over a lot of these guys. Brendan Aronson is a guy I would call up over these 4 guys. Tanner Tessman is a guy I would call up. Aidan Morris has been killing it in the championship. Just won player of the match for the first 2 games of the season at Middlesbrough. Not interested. I promise you, if he was playing for the Crew, he would be in this roster. I promise you. Brendan Aronson, Weston McKennie, not here. Look, I think McKennie has discipline issues, but although to start the season for Juve, he does look to be a little fitter than he was in the past. I don't think there's any reason to not call up Weston McKennie when you're calling up these guys. Like, you can't scream accountability from the rooftops and then bring in terrible players, right? Or players who've already gotten opportunities and looked terrible. Because then it's not just accountability, it's favoritism. I mean, this is psychological torture at this point, watching these rosters that Pochettino's picking. But he's happy. The man is sitting on his fat ass making $6 million a year to do Don Garber's bidding. That is the only conclusion I could possibly come to. Here we are, guys. Wide forwards, Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, and Alejandro Zendejas. No Haji Wright, who's explosive for Coventry to start the season. Interesting, right? Look, Zendejas, I think it's time he got an opportunity. I'm glad he's here. He's been kind of killing it in Liga MX for the last year and a half. But no Haji Wright is very, very interesting. Because if you're talking about guys in form and playing well, the man already has 3 goals for Coventry. And he plays on the wing. He can be Christian Pulisic's backup on the wing. To be fair, Diego Luna can do that too, right? But why not call them both and maybe leave Sean Zawadzki at home or Sebastian Berhalter? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But this, winger group, not terrible. It'll be interesting to see how Pulisic and Pochettino get along after the Gold Cup fiasco. The forwards are Josh Sargent and Damian Downs. Fuller and Balogun just came back from injury. Ricardo Pepi just came back from injury, so they're not here. I promise you, if Patrick Agyemang was fit, even if he hadn't played a single minute for Derby County, even if he was rotting on the bench, nay, if he was playing with their reserves, like if he went there and they were like, he's so bad, he needs to go play with the academy, he would still get called up by Poch. So Sargent gets a return. And of course, Sargent doesn't get Gold Cup minnows or January camp Luddites to play against. He doesn't. He gets to play against Japan and South Korea. And we're going to pair him with a midfield that won't be able to create. Who's going to create from midfield? There's no creativity at all. So he's going to get no service. And the narrative will continue that Josh Sargent can't score for the national team. And some of that is on him. But since 2022, when he's really started to come into his own for Norwich and be a real baller, he hasn't really gotten, I think he's gotten 180 minutes at most in 2 years. So look, I'm glad he's here and getting an opportunity, but I fear for this because I'm worried he's not going to get any service. Now, look, if he gets service and he sucks, all right, buddy, well, we tried. Damian Downs is an interesting one. Wasn't really rated by Poch during the Gold Cup. Got pity minutes here and there, and is now playing for Southampton. And not well, I might add. Not well, but he's here just because of the lack of options, I guess. Or we could have just called up Haji Wright as a striker. If you didn't want him there as a winger, how about the guy who's also scoring goals right now in the championship? We just left him at home. It doesn't make any sense to me. There is one more player that's supposed to arrive. They said it's a 22-man roster. The 23rd is 20. They didn't say who it was, but the 23rd player is sort of TBD. I am hearing rumors. I don't know if it's true. That's Luca Koleosho, another guy who has done nothing. But guess what? He plays for Poch's hometown team, Espanyol. So it makes perfect sense that he would probably get called up in this roster. Done nothing in his career, really, nothing. Was terrible for Burnley. Really didn't do anything at all. But now he's back with Espanyol. So now you're wearing the Espanyol crest, and Poch is going to call you up. This is not just MLSers that I'm hating on, guys. There are guys that don't deserve to be here. Luca Koleosho doesn't deserve to be here. It doesn't make any sense. And there are MLSers that deserve to be here, like Matt Fries or Diego Luna. They deserve to be here. Tim Ream deserves to be here for now. Who knows how long his legs will hold out. But this is your roster, you guys. This is your roster. It is disappointing and sad. We wonder why we can't sell out national team games, even in MLS stadiums. Well, we shouldn't be wondering. Who is going to pay $200 to go watch this hot garbage? Yeah, $200 to go sit at the highest point of the stadium and try to watch this team. Overprice, underdeliver. Bring a bunch of MLS lifers so Daddy Don Garber is happy and force us to watch the shit show. And then you wonder, why is there no support? Pulisic's complain, there's no support. We don't do a good job of supporting the team. Yeah, why should we? You've given us no reason to. Either the players or the coach or the federation or the people who run soccer in this country. Sad state of affairs, guys. And I don't blame people. I get messages from time to time, people saying, look, I've really enjoyed your channel, but my love for the national team is gone. Like, I can't do it anymore. I have better things to do with my time and money. And I agree. Look, you get one life. You get one life. Don't waste it. Time is money. Time is everything. You only get the time that you have for so long. And if you spend it giving your passion and your energy and your love, it's like a bad relationship, right? Sometimes there's a little bit of, sunk cost fallacy, right? Where it's like, I've invested so much time and energy already in it, I might as well keep going. Well, sure, but at some point you've got to go, at this point, I'm continuing to invest time and energy that I could invest elsewhere. Maybe hop on Hinge and find a different girl or guy. Looking at you. You know who I'm talking about. Spicy Jeff. No, look, it's a sad state of affairs, guys, and I don't know what to do. We'll keep covering these camps. We'll see how this goes. Maybe this team will come out and surprise us. I've just been let down so many times. I know who these players are at this point, and I just have very little faith that this game is going to go well. But we will cover it because that's what we do. And frankly, one of the reasons I stay is because I feel like Tack and I are one of the few people actually calling out this shit. And even, other platforms that are more in bed with the federation may not like it, but then they'll soft pedal their criticism. They'll be like, I don't really understand this call-up. Yeah, that's an understatement. When you say, I don't really understand Nathan Harriel being there, what you're really doing is you're absolving yourself of accountability to tell the truth, okay? Because you're all cozy with the federation and their sponsors. And on your YouTube channels, you get sponsors that are also sponsoring the federation. Don't think people don't know. Don't think we can't follow the money. Okay? Call the bullshit out when you see it if you're going to be an honest fan and commentator for this team. So one of the reasons I stay is because I feel like nobody else is doing this. Well, guys, that's it from me. I'm sorry this was such a downer, but with a roster like that, I really don't know. Let's talk real quick about the starting lineup. Look, if you get a starting lineup for both games that is Matt Freese, Serginho Dest, Chris Richards, Tim Ream / Noah Kai Banks, and then I guess Max Arfsten at left back. Or you could put Dest at left back and Freeman at right back. I think that would still be better. Then you get a midfield of Tyler Adams. There's not much in that midfield to get excited about. Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic, pick one of the others. Luna on the right, Way on the left, or Luna on the left, Way on the right. Sargent up top. It's not awful. I just don't know who's going to create at all. It's depressing. But it is what it is. Hit that like button before you leave. Leave a comment for me. Watch the video again if you can. If you can't, thanks for watching whatever you did. I guess we'll see you all next week.